Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this panel. Around half of the people that we interview every year for the Digital News Report tell us that nothing would persuade them to pay for news online. So it's such a big number. And also only 17% in the 46 countries that we cover say that they pay for news online. So those are really, quite stark figures in a conversation about reader revenue. My name is Eduardo Suarez. For those of you that don't know me, I am the head of editorial of the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism. We are based at the University of Oxford, and our mission is to explore the future of journalism worldwide. And that part of our motto, worldwide, is really important for this conversation because we have tried to feature three amazing women leaders that are part of organizations that are very successful with reader revenue, subscriptions, memberships, at a time that is very challenging for anyone who wants to charge for news online. So I'm really honored and happy to be here today with Carolina Guerrero. Thank you for coming, Carolina. Carolina is the founder and CEO of Radio Ambulante, which is a podcast company based in the US, but with journalists all over Latin America. They cover Latin America. Their figures are amazing. I mean, like 34% of the revenue come from listeners. In this case, members, and they basically doubled the reader revenue in the last year, which is really, really amazing. We are also very lucky to be here with Carine Fouteau. Thank you for coming, Carine. Carine is now the president and the publishing editor of Mediapart, this great news organization based in France. Probably the most amazing figure that you share with me, apart from the fact that you are profitable, which is amazing, 2 million of profits last year, is that 98% of the revenue come from readers, which is an amazing figure, and I'm going to ask you about that. And finally, we're also joined by Luz Peinado. Hi, Luz. Luz is the head of strategy, digital strategy at País. País is a huge global news organization based in Madrid, but with readers from Spain, but also from Latin America. And they launched their digital subscriptions in 2020. Everyone was very skeptic in Spain about reader revenue at the time, but they've been really successful, and they have more than 300,000 subscribers right now, which is really amazing. And they've grown almost 40% in the last year. So I'm going to ask you about that too. I would like to start very briefly. Obviously, many of the people watching or many of the people in the room don't know your organizations because they are from all over the world. So I would like to start perhaps with Luz. If you can tell us, a little bit about your reader revenue model and how you tweaked it in the last couple of years, and also a brief introduction about País and what you're aiming for.
Okay. Well, first, I would like to thank to the Reuters Institute for organizing this panel, and especially to Eduardo for inviting me. It's my first time in the festival, and I'm so glad to be here. Well, El País, it was founded 48 years ago, and we have Newsroom now in Spain and other countries such as Mexico, Colombia, the US, and Chile, and Argentina as well. And we have had a digital subscription model for 4 years now. In early March 2020, we were ready to set up our paywall. We have been working on it for months, and we had even announced it to our readers. But as you all know, the pandemic arrived, and we were at home in Spain for several months. So we decided to change our decision because due to this factor, our readers couldn't get their papers from the kiosk, And we let all our information accessible. Also, we let our replica for free, but we give our readers the possibility to become subscribers, and even if they could read everything for free. And their response was awesome. We had thousands of subscribers, paying subscribers, before starting closing articles. And finally, we set up our paywall on May 2020, 2 months later than expected. At that moment, we had a metered paywall with 10 free articles per month. I think we will talk later about this decision. And we changed the model to a freemium model in January 2022. And right now we have some articles for free for everyone and other ones just for subscribers. Finally, 3 months ago, we announced a new kind of subscription, a premium one, that gives access to the digital edition to El País, but also to the digital edition of Cinco Días, our financial newspaper, and the replica of the 2 print newspapers, also a possibility to share your account with other person. That's how our paywall has evolved during the past 4 years. And also about our revenue model, subscription is of course our priority, and we have also advertising in digital as well as print. We are still selling newspapers on the kiosk, of course not as 20 years ago, but we have more than 35,000 subscribers to the print edition, and we sell in the kiosk, especially on Sundays.
Yeah, Sunday is obviously a big priority for El País because you still sell more than on weekdays. But keep in mind, I mean, these guys have gone in the last 4 years from 0 subscribers to more than 300,000, which is such an achievement. Our own research at the Institute actually suggests that this market is a winner-takes-most market, so the biggest brand in every country usually has an advantage. But I think this is exactly the fact why I think suggests that Mediapart is such an amazing success, because you guys are not Le Monde, you guys are not Le Figaro, you are not one of those big legacy brands in France. And also, I mean, Marie-Luz and the guys at El País, they launched in 2020 when everyone was, launching subscriptions, and they have subscriptions, but you guys launched with this model in 2008. Which is the prehistory of paying for news online. So that's my first question, Carine. So, it's kind of surreal that you and Edwy Plenel, the founder of Mediapart, came up with this crazy idea to create a news organization that was not free, when everyone was free at the time.
Yeah, it was kind of a bet at that time. It was kind of counterintuitive. Very audacious, because of course it was in 2008, and at the time internet was supposed to be free for all, and information news was supposed to be free. And so we decided that people should be ready to pay for valuable and exclusive information, and of course of public interest. And this bet, it was successful. Because right now we have 220,000 subscribers. We have been profitable for 13 years, and now we are the 3rd newspaper in France in terms of readers, online readers, subscribers. So it's a success, and also because we are publishing a lot of exclusive news. That's probably why we are a success. And I think it was a good choice, because that's why readers trust us. They trust us because we had this economic model. They trust us because thanks to this economic model, this all reader revenue model, we would be totally independent from all powers. That's the key of this. We have no publicity. We don't get any money from public funds. We have no links with GAFAM, and we have no shareholders also because from 219 now, we have been the founders who used to own Mediapart. They transferred the capital of Mediapart to the team. So now our capital is owned by a non-profit organization, a non-profit foundation, which means that Mediapart cannot be sold or bought by anyone anymore. That's very important for us to think in terms of sustainability in the future, to make sure that this model, which is working right now, will be working in the future.
No, that's an amazing thing, and no small feat in France, where we have seen takeovers recently that are pretty scary for other news organizations. So I think it's a very good move. Carolina, your organization is a bit different than the others. You're a podcast company. Podcast is usually free. Podcast is not something you pay for, or at least historically has not been. And yet, the beauty of Radio Ambulante is that you have managed to create such a thriving community of listeners that they are actually paying you guys just for the joy of listening to Radio Ambulante and for some of the things that you are doing. So I wanted you to explain, or to try to explain to this audience, why do you think that people are paying for a membership to Radio Ambulante?
So thank you for having me. If you're not familiar with our work, the company is called Radio Ambulante Studios. Our flagship podcast Radio Ambulante was launched in 2012, and since then we have launched 3 podcasts. We published 80 episodes among the two Radio Ambulante, which is a narrative podcast distributed by NPR in the United States. El Hilo, which is an explainer that takes the most important, or was one of the most important news in Latin America, and explaining that and pack it every week. And then now a serials podcast dedicated to series called Central. So we launched, we are a non-profit organization, and when we launched Radio Ambulante, we wanted to hear content that represented us. No, we wanted to hear ourselves on the content, we on the airwaves. We wanted to hear stories from our countries of origins, and we wanted to hear narratives that were different of the bad villain, or the with that foreign correspondent point of view. We wanted to hear the stories from inside.
There are too many narcos.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and or too many the poor immigrant, or we wanted to expand that narrative because it was broad, and we wanted to complicate the story that everybody and ourselves had about Latin America. No, created this with a regional perspective. We were based in the United States, and I think the success 12 years after launching the company, I think we still do something that is very unique, because it has, even though there are many more podcasts and narrative podcasts being produced in Spanish, that point of view that is regional and is global. We have a global audience. There are still no many podcasts with that point of view, and I think people pay because this talks specifically to their identity and to content that is relevant for them. Our audience are in the United States, Latin America, and globally. So I think the success of the podcast of the membership program is because we have this kind of tacit agreement with the listeners, which is that we have a community that is thriving, and we all want to preserve that community. We want to tell our stories ourselves, and I think the listeners have the power to make that happen. We are an independent media, as Carine said, and the membership there is nothing behind a paywall. The membership are donations, but they have the reward is the journalism that you get twice per week in 2 episodes that you get of Radio Ambulante and El Hilo, and sometimes the series. So I feel that we duplicated the program, as you said, in the end of the year campaign in December, or last year, during the last year, and we have seen this program growing, and it's clear to us that if we really want to continue looking into the future, the audience and the community has the power to make that happen, and we hope to grow the membership program even more. At the moment, only 2% of our listeners donate. So in the next 3 years, we hope to bring that to 10%.
Messaging is super important when asking people to pay for, especially in memberships like the one Radio Ambulante has. But I'm also curious in a bigger newspaper, Mariluz, as El País, and I know that you guys are doing some work around that now and trying to rethink how to ask people to pay. And I don't know if you can share with us what you found out in the last couple of years or 3 years in terms of what's working best, which kind of messaging or which kind of channels those messages go in, maybe inside the website or outside the website. Anything that you can share with us in terms of what works, because many of the people here might be curious and can draw some lessons.
Okay, I just said before, everyone in Spain was very skeptical about having a digital subscription. El País had a previous experience more than 20 years ago. In early 2000, we had a very hard paywall, and 2 years later, a company decided to take it down because it hadn't working as it was expected. But I think that's a reason why El País waited so long this time to adopt a subscription model. But okay, we don't have exactly a key message to ask people to become subscriber. When we starting with the model, our claim was suscríbete a los hechos, subscribe to facts. But I think the big challenge that we have, and not just for El País, for Spanish media, because in general, the Spanish media moved to subscription model later than other European countries. And I think that we are still on a stage where a lot of readers need to understand that good journalism needs to be paid. For example, El País published around a couple months ago an investigation of cases of abuse in the Spanish cinema industry, and of course that investigation gave us a lot of new subscribers because it was the result of 3 journalists working on it and investigating for almost a year. But also we found a lot of a lot of people on social asking, okay, this information is very important, it's public service, it could be free, it could be open for everyone. So back to your question, we don't have a key message, but maybe quality journalism needs money, could be one.
And with that particular case, I think it's a very good example because this was kind of a Me Too investigation in Spain, which is very rare. It's a country where we haven't had that kind of Me Too moment. So I think it was really interesting. How did you try to make the most of that in terms of making new subscribers? Was it something that you were pushing on social or to readers or yeah?
Okay, I have to say that about 10 minutes after publication, the information was everywhere. So that I think it's important to tell that message because information is going to be everywhere. So if you want to pay for that, we could be more investigation. So it's not about this should be free because it's public service. Okay, if you give that for free, we couldn't investigate more. But of course we continue to investigate the story and more about that. Our 3 journalists are dedicated on it, and also we have a second story about the same director. So we say that, okay, that's the only way to have this kind of information if we have dedicated 3 people on it.
And of course, that messaging will sound familiar to you, Carine, because that's something that you are very strong on, investigations and investigative journalism. But I wonder, because you were really alone when you were charging for news, back in 2008 or 2009, but now you're in a much more competitive market, right? Le Monde is charging for news online very successfully, and also Le Figaro and others. And I wonder if you have changed your messaging somehow, or how you are adapting to this new world where this is much more prevalent than it used to be.
Our key message is that readers are only, we can only rely on them to make exclusive information. That's the key thing, is that readers are the only people who can buy us, basically, compared to shareholders or billionaires or whatever. So that's our key message. But to make the difference, and because it's true that the field is quite competitive, we make sure that, of course, we have exclusive information, but also we have exclusive documents, and that you cannot copy it, even if you're going to take the information and you're going to copy the information on other websites. If you want to see the original document, if you want to hear the original sound of somebody saying somebody to somebody else, and we have this document and we're going to publish it. So that if you want to see that, if you want to hear that special sound, that you have to come and pay and see. But in 16 years, because now it has been 16 years, we have been changing a bit our paywall. It was very hard paywall at the beginning, and so we had to make sure that our reputation with our investigative and our information, our exclusive news, and our legacy was there. And now we are in the field. We are in the center of the field. And now we're starting to open a bit the news website with videos, newsletters, and podcasts, which are for free. And what we do in this contents is that we try to explain how we work, because also we think it's very important to explain our audience how we do this, the investigation. What are our doubts sometimes, because we know we have questions about what we're doing, and we want to share that with the audience to have this sense of proximity with them. We are at the same stage, at the same level as anybody, and we want to be very close to our audience. So in this podcast, in this newsletter, in these videos, we have debates, but also a lot of pedagogical things about the way we work and why we do things, why we're going to publish this story and maybe not this one, and all our questions. And I think people, and also the underside, how we did to do that, how we did to get this information, how difficult it was, what kind of, all the difficulties we had on the road. And I think people are very interested by that kind of story, and then they want to have, the major scoop, and so they're going to subscribe.
No, that's super important, I think. I mean, I recently spoke to A.G. Sulzberger from the New York Times, and one of the things that he said is how journalists should explain more the standards and the processes of the things that we do, because the audience doesn't know, often ignores exactly how that process or how those standards work. So I think it's a very interesting and important choice. But I was wondering while I was listening to Carine about Spain, because the case in Spain and for El País is probably the opposite. I mean, you guys started very open. Obviously, everything was for free, everything was open. And it seems to me, as a reader and as a subscriber, that you guys have been tightening things up a bit. Like everything, like the first model was a metered paywall with still a few things, many things I think open. And now, it's kind of a freemium model, but with many things behind the paywall. Can you explain that change, Mariluz?
When we started, we had a metered paywall with 10 free articles per month. And at that moment, readers were not used to paying for information. So we thought that it was better to giving them the possibility to still reading some articles to become familiar with the model. So with a metered paywall, loyal readers become subscribers very quickly, because if they come if they come every day to your website, they will hit the wall.
Of course.
But after when we shift from the meter paywall to a freemium model, with I think we are closing right now around the 30% of articles of all the website, all the editions.
30%.
Around, yeah.
Okay.
But with all the edition and with 5 días as well included. With a freemium model, we were looking for potential new subscribers. Maybe those don't come every day to El País, or they don't come frequently, but they are very interested in one area, or in one journalist, or in one specific investigation. So I think this kind of model is better right now. Finally, with the third option, the premium model, premium subscription with 5 días, is also the result of a significant change in our newsroom, because we have merged the team of 5 días and the economic desk of El País. So right now they work all together, and we have a unique economic team and 2 publications, the economic desk of El País and 5 días, a very specialized financial newspaper.
So now you have this kind of premium bundle that includes the general interest newspaper, El País, and the financial newspaper. Yep. Are you planning on adding anything else into that bundle, like the New York Times does, for example, with cooking or with other things? Whatever you can tell us, of course, yeah. No one is listening, so...
Of course, we are working on new products. Of course, I have to say that it's not exactly a bundle, because you can't be subscriber just for 5 días. So you have to be premium subscriber. Sure. But yes, we are working on new products to give to our subscribers.
We'll take that as a yes, and we'll move on. So, Carine briefly mentioned this, and I know that also El País is doing some of that. The role of newsletters, for example, in both attracting people who are not yet paying for news, but also sometimes the role of newsletters in engaging subscribers and creating habit and making people, keep them subscribed, basically. And I think you guys at Radio Ambulante are experimenting a bit with newsletters, and I wanted you to, tell us a bit how you engage with your members through that channel, which is not podcast, is another different channel, and, what do you do with that?
So the newsletter. Hello. Yeah. We use the newsletter. We have a couple of new newsletters. One is more recommendations from our team that we created years ago, because we wanted to let them know who we are, kind of who are the team. I think what resonates with our audience is that they have seen our company grow. We started with a Kickstarter campaign and a very successful crowdfunding, the first in journalism, the first in podcasting in 2012. So this audience has grown a bit and seen the process, and in the newsletter, and that has been very compelling for them as we grow and the audience grew. So the newsletter kind of let them see a bit of who we are. And we launched. We had that Kickstarter campaign, and then waited it was only 7 years later in 2019 when we launched our membership program, and used the newsletter to get directly to the inboxes listeners, and then it has the highest conversion rate of members. I think the fact that we have at the moment 50,000 people, readers, subscribers to the newsletter, and we have every time that we do a campaign, it's at 9% of the revenue that we bring some newsletters. There are other channels like social media, and obviously when we make a message on the audio, the host of the podcast ask for people to join the membership. But I think so we have a newsletter, and now we have more journalistic newsletter that describe, for example, El Hilo has one. What we create there is just a relationship with the listener, but mostly what they get is the call to support what we do on the production of the audio. And I think in terms of messages, what we try to do is continue telling our stories in the independent media, but also explaining more about what we're aiming to do, or depending on the moment that we are living, and explaining the role that the community has on all these monetizations revenue model that is diversified, but it's important. The memberships are key now.
Because I was going to ask, Carolina, you get around 34% of your revenue from readers or from listeners, but then you also have other sources, and I would like you to explain those a bit. If you take money from grants or from advertisers, or what's more or less the model beyond, members?
Yeah, we take every money, a lot of money. If you want, bring it to us. So we're a non-profit organization, and I think when we launched, we're a bit naive. We're based in the United States, and our idea was people were very excited about what we wanted to do, but we never had a strong. It was not, the foundation support was not there for us, they always wanted to support us and enthusiastic, but they were like, oh, can we do it in English? No, let's do it only from Mexico, this kind of stuff. And we wanted to listen these stories in Spanish, because this is what, the audience, we were part of that community, that audience. So yes, we have grants from foundations, and we have more grants now than before, obviously, because it's 12 years. But since we were just a team of 2 people initially, and then it was growing, but it took us we were 5 people for 5 years, and we are 33 now. So our staff has grown a lot in the last years, but the capacity, when we launched Radio Ambulante, we didn't know how to create audio journalism. And I'm glad that we didn't know, because we launched it and then we learned, and it was so difficult, and it's very crafty, and it's very expensive. So we found a sustainable business model, trying to since we were rejected basically by many foundation support, and it was not available, so we always diversify the model. So we have an agreement, a distribution agreement with NPR, which is National Public Radio, the biggest distributor of public media in the United States, and they guarantee, it's a revenue split model, but they guarantee a minimum every year. And then we have also, we identified a segment of our audience who are Spanish learners, and created an app for Spanish learners, which is amazing, really is amazing, and we sell that. So we have subscribers to that as well, and what it takes our Radio Ambulante's episodes and convert it in very smart lessons, where you can just do graduate the speed, or do select the vocabulary, have real-time transcript or translations to English, and so on. So that brings some 10% of the revenue. Foundation is now less than 30%. The agreement with NPR brings 20%. We also do live shows sometimes, have merchandising, and now we have these derivatives. which includes that we're trying to grow now, like we want to expand this business side of the company, but we do, like our IP is being adapted for films and TV and this kind of stuff. And I think there is interest for books. That doesn't bring a lot of money, but that's very cool as well. So now we're doing this. Last year we started, we had a partnership to co-produce El Hilo with Vice, and they went bankrupt, so we have a deficit since last year. And then we have been thinking about it again a lot, and are trying to expand that business side, because even though we're trying to get closer to foundations, still that's very low. It's a very low process, because Radio Ambulante is hard to understand, because if we are in the United States, we are too Latin American, not local enough now. If we are in Latin America, we are too gringos, and you have a lot of money, and NPR doesn't have money also, like they don't cover the full company, so, you know, so it's kind of tricky. So we're trying to expand this business side and have identified niche of like partners, and to create premium sponsorships and partnerships to produce and help produce El Hilo and Radio Ambulante with like-minded companies. And yeah, so it's important for us. Like I think the membership program is helping us on the core, but we hope to also expand more on the business side.
Great. We're going to go to questions very soon, so start thinking about them. But before that, I wanted to ask briefly, Mariluz, because you are the only one here producing print. Neither Carolina or Carine has had any print newspaper side. So I wonder, you know, how priorities and how processes have changed in El País. Because right now, I mean, you have, 300,000 plus subscribers, digital subscribers, which is probably 6 times more than the people actually, or the copies that you actually sell in news agents. How do you think your priorities have changed in the last 3-4 years? And maybe they should change even more, but
Of course, with a change of business model, we have to focus more on digital transformation. When we started with the subscription, digital subscription, we knew that if we want journalists more focused on digital, we need to separate print and digital workflows. And the print edition should be less present on their daily work. So we created a new edition desk to manage the print edition. And that doesn't mean giving up on our print newspaper, because we won't keeping it. But we need to focus our journalists on digital. So in this new, it's not new because it started 3 years ago. In this edition desk, there are very experienced journalists, but we had to focus on digital, and that's mainly my job. I'm in charge of projects of digital transformation in the newsroom, and that means change deadlines, change priorities, improve our breaking news and our live blogging. And it's not just about where you put your resource. I think with subscription, the whole newsroom has to work differently. We need editors assuming digital tasks and thinking in new products or in products as newsletter to keep subscribers. So everything has changed with subscription, yes. I don't know what is going to happen with print edition. Of course, we want to keep it, and I think that it's going to survive because everyone likes to read newspapers when they have time. But I think we have already a print edition more analytic, it's not just breaking news, of course. You can find there more explanation, more useful information. I think we have already changed our print edition.
Carine, the fact that you don't have a print edition or a print daily edition, do you see that as an advantage in terms of competing with Le Monde or Le Figaro, or do you think there's something missing that you are not in the kiosks every day?
First of all, in an ecological term, it's a real benefit because you know that print is extremely, costly in terms of damages, ecological damages. So that's, I think, the first benefit we think of all of us. Even if we don't have print, but we publish some books, some graphic books, sometimes. Translating our, famous stories, famous investigation in graphic stories, which is interesting, and that's in print. So, of course, that a lot of cost in less compared to Le Monde and Le Figaro. And it's true that I was born in a time when everybody was, reading print news. And I saw that never I could live without print news, and I can, basically. So
it is possible. It is possible.
So I only see advantages in terms of cost and in terms, ecological cost mainly.
Amazing. Well, thank you for that answer. Let's go to questions. I mean, who has many people have questions. Okay, so let's go to the lady in the back in there. Yeah, you. Yeah.
Thank you. I had a question. So, Marie-Luce, you were saying that it was some big investigative stories that played an important role in bringing in new subscribers to El País, and I understand that in the case of Mediapart, also that was quite a contributing factor, the stories that you launched around Adèle Haenel and some other Me Too related stories. And so my question is, to what extent were you able to retain those subscribers and ensure that they remained hooked? Did you identify any patterns of peaks of subscribers that then perhaps dropped off? And how do you sustain that engagement? Thank you.
Go for it.
Yes. Of course, exclusive information brings always new subscribers, but not also everything that differentiates us from other media, but also in our case, analysis, opinions, but also recommendations, useful information. For example, El País has a literary supplement, Babelia, and year after year, its ranking of the best books of the year attract a lot of new subscribers. So it's not just, of course, political information always help, but it could be also an interview that our readers couldn't find in other media. So everything that differentiates us from others. And after to keep them, I think it's very important to know a lot about our readers. So in our case, it's also the result of of many different teams working all together, and not just the editorial part. I think that with a subscription model, you need to put all parts of the company work together, and of course, editorial part must work separately from the business part traditionally. But you have to create spaces where they could work together and share information, share knowledge. When we started with the digital subscription, we create a kind of closing team with different profiles, with marketing profiles, product, subscription, and editorial. And 2 or 3 times a week, they met and shared their knowledge. They analyzed what articles bring more subscribers. Right now, they just met once every 2 weeks. But it's very important to know what our readers need from us, and they not just read need to be informed. In our case, they need to be informed as well, but they need to understand the world.
Great.
For us,
Yeah, cool.
our main peaks, it's right, they came from our scoops. So the first one was the Betancourt story. It was in 2010 in France. And it was a huge peak. And from that date on, we are profitable. It's really these 2 years, these 2 first years, we weren't profitable. And from that time, we were. So after that, all huge stories and a lot of Me Too stories, starting from at Mediapart 20 and 16 with L'Affaire Beaupin, which was a political stories. We had peak because of that. Also, all the election time, unfortunately, war times are, we're gaining subscribers because people, they need sense, they need clarity, they need intelligibility. So that's when people came. Also during COVID, we didn't expect it at all, but we had 40,000 more net new subscribers in a very short period of time, like 3 months. So what we do to keep this, because our only goal is to enlarge our subscribers, because that's the only way we can sustain. But at the same time, we have to keep our subscribers to make sure that they stay with us and they are happy with us. So what we do is we try to make them feel at ease reading Mediapart. So we try to be as accessible as possible. Right now, we're working on our editing a lot, because sometimes we're questioning. We have question to our readers, and sometimes they say that our articles and especially our long articles, are a bit too long, too complicated, with too much details, because it's investigation, so you have to put every testimony, everything on the right place, and having the argument very clear. But sometimes it's true that it can be a bit too long and too complicated. So what we do is we're rewriting, working hard on teasers, we are doing summaries right now for our subscribers, for our long stories. So our subscribers, they can have the story in very short bullet point, like 10 bullet points, so they can understand where the story is going to. So we are writing a lot on that, and also that what we were talking previously is very important, is the link of proximity with our readers. So we are really working hard on that. So it's going through Le Club, because our subscribers, they can write blogs. So it's really a participatory place, and also we are doing a lot of public events to make sure that people, if they want to come and meet us, they come. It's possible. They can ask us questions. They can put us in question. They can, doubt us if they want, and we can interact. That's, the most important physical interaction. That's very important to keep this link and to create a real community where people feel proud to be part of Mediapart subscription.
Okay, we're going to try to take another question. Maybe here.
Hi, thanks for sharing. That was very relevant. So I'm part of a magazine that also relies 99% on reader revenue. And I have one thing that I'm curious about. So
it's Republic in Switzerland. Yeah.
So the development of the membership base, has it always been going up, or did you have times in your history where it has been shrinking or being hard to gain members? And what did you do in these moments? Did you find effective buttons to push, or strategies to grow again? Like, I'm asking for a self-help group basically here. So what are effective instruments that you could find?
Who wants to take this one? Carolina, perhaps, yeah.
I will just, our program has only grown since we launched, and we measure everything, because we're a very small team without we have one person who helps us with data and platforms, but we have a lot of data. And we know exactly what's the life of a donor. We know why they go, why they stay. We ask people why they donate. Also, when you make the transaction, they have that question and they answer. So we have like a lot of like information from them, quantity and quality. And I think that helps us to understand the program and what they need. And also, in our case, we usually we survey the audience. So for example, when we launched El Hilo, we learned that the audience wanted to hear more like something more like explain the news of Latin America that were complex. And we launched El Hilo, and people is just now bringing one third of the membership program. You know, like, so it's not that we were looking for the money to bring it. It's that the community reward us after they see that we put together, or like Central, the new podcast launch with the most important political story of Latin America, the fragility of democracy, through the story of Nayib Bukele, the Salvadorian president. So we launched that. We didn't crowdfund for that, but we launched that, and that's bringing membership. So I think understanding the data, the reasons, and just always consider that you have a bunch of, you have 95% already, so I'm telling you something that probably you know, but it's like we consider every donor as an individual. They feel that this is for them. They don't know if there are other people. They know that this is a community because they are we create spaces for them to interact with each other, but I think make it very personalized as you can helps a lot to continue growing.
Maybe another last question, maybe there. Yeah. Just wait. No questions? No? Okay, we are going to stay here, so you can come and ask the questions to us. Okay, very briefly, just one sentence from each of you. Advice to anyone here who wants to go into reader revenue, or how to manage subscriptions or memberships. One sentence from each of you. Who wants to start? And we finish.
I think listen to your audience, to your readers, know more about them, and the high quality of journalism must be the center, the core of your business.
Wise words.
I would say publish exclusive news of public interest.
Launch your membership program, don't wait too long.
That's a good one. Well, I take mine from Carine, who said before, people need sense, people need clarity. So hopefully that's a rallying cry and a good message to end on. Thank you so much, everyone, and thanks for coming.
Gracias. Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.